Welcome to the Live to 110 podcast. My name is Wendy Myers, and you can find me on live to110.com. And you can find this video podcast on the corresponding blog post on the website or on my YouTube channel, Wendy Live to 110. Today, we have a very special guest, Denise Messenger. She is the author of Got Cancer, Now What? And we're going to be talking about what you should do if you are, in fact, diagnosed with cancer. This is something that 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women are faced with in the United States, around the world as well. Those are the stats of the U.S. And it's a devastating diagnosis, and there's so much information that they really need to learn and take responsibility for their health. It's probably not a good idea just to listen to one physician about your treatment protocol. And so I do this podcast because I really encourage people to take responsibility for their health and get the information that they need to heal their bodies and to save their lives. So we're going to talk to Denise Messenger today about what to do if you are diagnosed with cancer. Please keep in mind that this program is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease or health condition and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Please consult your healthcare practitioner before engaging in any treatment today that we suggest on the show. I have some amazing infrared saunas on the website. I just partnered with a really good manufacturer called Sauna Space Saunas, and I'm no longer making them myself. Wasn't super happy with the quality. Wanted to take things a notch up, so I definitely recommend to go check out the Sauna Space Saunas on the website, store.live to110.com. Beautiful saunas. They're all like hand lasered, made by machines, in a really beautiful manufacturing facility. There's poplar wood ones. There's canvas tents that you can get. And there are little pocket saunas that you can fit in any size apartment or home. And they're very inexpensive alternatives to the far infrared saunas that cost thousands of dollars. And I think they have a lot more benefits than the typical far infrared sauna. So definitely go check those out in the store. And I'm really excited to announce bodybioRehab.com. Go look at that website right now. That's going to be my online health program that talks about the 5 pillars of regaining your health. Your diet, using the modern paleo diet, reducing stress, taking supplements, also exercise. There are going to be entertaining videos of me exercising in the program, and how to detox. I think those are extremely important facets to health that people need to be tending to. And I tell you, all my tips and tricks that I've used to heal my health, and give you all the tips and research that I've done over the past 5, 6 years, 7 years. And I'm just going to condense that into an inexpensive online health program, a 30-day program that you can follow. And it's going to be $49. So go sign up to get more information at bodybioRehab.com when that launches. Now for a little bit about our guest. Denise Messenger is the award-winning author of Got Cancer, Now What? A Layperson's Guide to the Newly Diagnosed. Her book is a winner in the 2013 International Book Awards and received the 2012 Elite Gold Medal Award for Excellence. She was also featured in InspireMeToday.com as Today's Brilliance. Because of her love for the written word, she continues to write by contributing articles to magazines, newsletters, and journals, and she is often a guest speaker at major health conferences. Currently, she is the radio host of the show Health Media Now, which can be found at blogtalkradio.com/healthmedianow, where expert guests comprised of authors, doctors, practitioners, and healthcare providers entertain and share their cutting-edge information. I was recently a guest on there. I was very honored to be a guest to talk about my upcoming Modern Paleo Survival Guide book, which will hopefully be out at the end of the year. Well, Denise, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and about your background?
Well, relative to the book that I wrote, Got Cancer, Now What? For the newly diagnosed, I myself am a cancer survivor. So during the process of trying to get rid of it, I decided to write a book to help others. And I'm completely cured. I was diagnosed with 2 different types of cancer at the same time. Oh. So I hit the lottery. And rather than look at it from a negative aspect, I decided to put a positive spin on it. And so as a result, I think it was very, very helpful in curing both my cancers.
Yeah, little, your desk thing broke behind you.
I know, I was trying to
Oops.
I taped it.
Everything's falling apart.
Because otherwise it could be ugly, right?
Oh, it's fine. I don't think anyone cares. Yeah, so that's amazing. That's an amazing story. And I read that you were actually in stage 4 cancer when you were researching and writing your book. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. Well, the chronic lymphocytic leukemia was very serious. And when I was initially diagnosed with it, they said, oh, you'll probably live into old age with it. But because of stress in my life, instead of it just staying where it was, it decided to accelerate, and at quite a rapid pace. So before I knew it, there I was with stage 4. And I had to make a lot of really important decisions about my treatment, particularly when I was diagnosed with them both at the same time and the breast cancer was there. So rather than listening to my oncologist relative to the treatment protocol that he wanted to give me, I started doing a lot of research. And I decided that, no, I'm not going to go really aggressive with it, because if I do, it could accelerate the CLL. And the protocol wouldn't address the CLL. It was only going to address the breast cancer. So I decided to just have surgery, have the lump taken out, and then I did alternative complementary medicine for 8 months. And it was really, really hard because it was life-changing. I had to change my diet. I had to change my lifestyle. Everything that was chemical related came out of my house. Everything that went on my face came off.
Yeah.
And then I had to start eating organically. So there was a lot going on simultaneously.
And that's hard.
As a result, I was cured.
Yeah.
And that was much longer than 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think this is such a great book because, there's so many people, 1 in 3 people, 1 in 3 men, 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women being diagnosed with cancer.
Correct.
And including my husband's uncle just got diagnosed with colon cancer. And it's hard to know what to do. It's hard to know what to do, and everyone's telling you to do something different. Mm-hmm. Do this treatment, do natural, do chemo, do this and that. And so I think this is a really great book for people who have this overwhelming diagnosis and then just don't know what to do. There's so much information out there.
Right. And what I found too is that once you receive your initial diagnosis, you don't know it, but you're in shock and denial. And people can go anywhere from 4 to 6 months in that state. How in the world are you supposed to make life-changing, life-altering, life-saving decisions? Yeah. Very, very tough. Very, very tough.
So why don't we talk a little bit about, how likely are people to get cancer? Let's talk a little bit. I mentioned like a rough statistic, but can you talk a little bit more in detail about that?
Well, the statistics are growing. Today, it's expected that 1 out of every 3 will get cancer in their lifetime. That's really, really high. Yeah. And why is that? You really have to ask yourself, what is going on? Well, what's going on is that our food sources are basically the mineral content is being depleted because of the soil. They don't put minerals back in the soil in these large corporate farming industries. So that's why a lot of times you want to go organic. Although recently I've learned that even in the organic farms, they don't necessarily put back the good mineral content either.
No, some of them use the chemical NPK fertilizers that are giving, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So you have that, and then you have all the toxicities in our environment, in our air, in our water, on and on. Mm-hmm. And generally, people don't think about it. You just don't think about it on a day-to-day basis. The fact that your body has to process all these toxins. So what do? Well, what you need to do is you need to detoxify at least once or twice a year. And there's all kinds of practitioners out there that can help with that. I'm not an expert in it whatsoever. I just happen to know the practitioners that are.
Yeah, yeah.
And it really is important because it puts a heavy load on your kidneys, on your liver, on your lungs. And what happens? Your immune function stops. It just stops. And out of that, you end up with cancer and all kinds of different types of illnesses. Yeah. And if you have any kind of genetic disposition, then you're going to probably be more apt to get certain cancers over others.
Yeah, I was kind of upset. I recently had some genetic testing, 23andme.com, and had a full, went to Sterling Zap, got a full, readout of what all that means. And I found out that I have a tendency for estrogen-dependent cancers because my body doesn't metabolize estrogen so fabulously. So
did you check your levels to find out what your levels are?
No, I am. I'm just about to do a test. I'm just about to do some hormone testing.
Just in the process.
Yeah, I'm just about to do some hormone testing to find out what's going on with my liver functioning and estrogen levels, etc. But yeah, now I'm taking more precautions, doing more coffee enemas to help the liver, which metabolizes estrogen. I stopped coffee. Because
how about infrared sauna?
Oh yeah, I do infrared sauna. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love my sauna.
I have one of those.
Yeah, love my sauna. Yeah. I'm drinking some green juice. Help my body detox a little bit. This is my little daily baby detox. But it's good to get that information because it gets you on point. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about how one can prevent cancer?
Well, it's by keeping your immune function really strong. And there's a multitude of things that you can do. Vitamin D, almost everyone has very low levels of vitamin D. And so one of the best things you can do is up your intake of vitamin D supplementation, along with getting a little bit more sun. Direct sun is also very good. Yeah. I mean, all you need is 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
But even that I'm not convinced is enough overall to get your levels up. I have my levels checked all the time, and I still am having issues with getting it up to like in the 60 range.
Yeah.
I'm like in the 30 range.
Yeah.
It's also really good for flu prevention to have your vitamin D levels up.
Yeah.
And then also, of course, your eating. Trying to keep your sugar intake as low as possible. It's almost impossible to do. Almost every restaurant, every packaged good in the grocery store has so much sugar in it. Yeah. Even yogurt has sugar in it. Everything has sugar in it.
Yeah, I know. I just quit sugar. I got really serious about it. I had no sugar for a week, and I'm doing okay. I can't believe I survived.
Oh, it is. It's one of the toughest
hard.
things. It's really hard to do.
I'm taking an herb called gymnema that really helps with sugar cravings. I think that's helped me quite a bit.
Yeah. There's, I think, what is it? Chromium or one of those helps too.
Yeah, chromium for sure.
Is it that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because the sugar, did you know that once you eat something with sugar in it, it lowers your immune system for 5 to 6 hours? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's shocking. It is shocking.
Yeah.
And and I've also heard that when you're eating sugar, that raises your insulin level, and there's a lot of insulin-dependent cancers that feed on insulin.
Yes, that's correct as well. Yeah. So and then there's all kinds of antioxidants that you can take to also help. A lot of mushroom, like reishi mushroom is really good. I take quite a bit of it to keep my immune system up and strong. It works for me. And then obviously, like I said, your diet. Your diet is everything, and getting enough sleep. And probably, even if you do all of those things that we just talked about, if you have tremendous stress in your life, it'll negate everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I think it's one of the number one causes of illness and disease. You know, it leads to adrenal fatigue and a whole host of other problems in the body. It's like a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
We have to find a way to reduce stress.
Yeah, it's a lot of, exercise or meditation or acupuncture or massage therapy. I mean, there's so much out there to help you with that. You just have to go find what works for you.
Yeah, you just have to spend all your free time de-stressing. That's all you have to do. Yeah, it takes a lot of time to be healthy. It's like a full-time job.
It really does. It really does. So that you could add on how many years of life expectancy. Yeah. We don't know.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So why don't you talk a little bit about, what should someone do if they're diagnosed with cancer? What's the first steps they should take?
Well, one of the most important things is finding the right practitioner to help you. A lot of times you're referred to one particular doctor and you go with it. But what I like to encourage people to do is to think outside the box and to do some research, particularly about the cancer that you have and what's available out there. And don't be afraid to bring that information with you to a couple of different practitioners or oncologists and ask them about these various treatments. They don't have the time to keep up on all the latest research. That's why a lot of times they know specific researchers at specific universities, and they'll call them about your issue, but that's still only one other take on what it is you have. So it's really important to do that.
Yeah,
I have choices. You have choices that you can make.
Yeah, I do get word of for people that they get their doctor, they're assigned their oncologist, and they just do what they say, just blindly, without doing any research, getting no information, just doing what they say. And it's always going to be chemo and radiation, never going to be alternative stuff or supportive nutritional therapy, et cetera, et cetera. It's detox, et cetera. And that worries me. I think the doctor only has so much time to dedicate it to your case. And as an individual, no one's going to care as much as you about your overall outcome and your health.
Right. It's your life.
Yeah.
A lot of times, the emotional side of being the recipient of cancer is very difficult. It's difficult for the patient, and it's difficult for the family involved.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for the friends that are around you. Nobody wants to say to you, go do this treatment. Nobody wants that responsibility. So where does it lie? It lies within you. Yeah. And you really shouldn't put that on somebody else. And that's the toughest part. It's kind of like, oh, I have a 50-50 chance here of maybe this working, maybe this not working. So which way am I going to go?
And do you think there's an issue with, if you go to a typical medical doctor, which everyone does if they have medical insurance, is there an issue with that doctor only legally being able to offer you chemo and radiation?
They do have a legal obligation. They typically have set protocols for set cancers. So sometimes they can mix their concoctions. Sometimes they don't. Now there's a really valuable test out, and it's through a Dr. Robert Nagorny, and he's based out of Long Beach, California. And what he does is he takes the pieces of a tumor, or he takes the blood, and it's a blood assay test in vitro, which means it's inside a test tube, but it's live. The blood is alive, and they will expose the cells, to a multitude of different chemotherapy drugs. And at the end of 1 week, they actually produce a report that they can give to a patient that shows you what you're sensitive to and what you're not sensitive to.
I love that.
So, oh my gosh, now you have this report that says, oh, fludarabine, that will kill the cancer cells. But, oh, this other drug, not at all.
Wow. I love that. I think that's amazing to do an individual test to see what you respond to.
It is. You know, for some people, they don't have the financial means to pay for it. And some insurance carriers in the past would contribute towards the cost, but they would never pay for it in full. And it can run around $3,000 to $4,000, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, you go, well, is that a lot when you consider it's going to tell me that this chemotherapy protocol I'm going to go through for at least 8 months has a higher probability of working than not working?
Yeah.
I found it very valuable, and I found it valuable for myself, obviously. And it took a long time to find him and to find out that there was a test that existed. Because unfortunately, a lot of oncologists, they either don't believe in it or they don't refer you to have it done.
Yeah. And
for me, it was the most life-saving thing to know about it.
Yeah, because I mean, with chemo, I mean, it's rough. I mean, my father died of cancer. He died of his cancer treatments, more accurately, but he did chemo and he lost 120 pounds in 5 months. He couldn't eat. So and I don't think chemo is the right option for everyone. I think it depends on the cancer.
It does. It does.
Everyone's different. The cancers are different.
Yeah.
People's response are different to different treatments. But for people that are undergoing chemo, is there anything that can help with easing the symptoms of chemo?
If you can find a practitioner that will work with your oncologists, or vice versa, if you choose not to go the chemo way and you're working with a practitioner, there are herbal supplements out there and vitamins that can help. But you have to be under the care of a doctor or a practitioner that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that is willing to work, and they're willing to work together. Because you potentially could negate your treatment.
Yeah.
By using certain ones. You know, I would never recommend doing it on your own, never.
Yeah.
For me, I had an entire village. I had practitioners, I had acupuncturists, I had herbalists, I had oncologists. I mean, it was just unbelievable, all the people that surrounded me to help.
Yeah.
But again, some people either don't have the financial means, or they live in a small town where they don't have access to that sort of thing. I mean, there's so many variables involved.
Are there any therapies that you recommend once someone's diagnosed with cancer, like some that just are really helpful for a lot of cancer patients?
I really can't, because, like I said, everybody's such an individual. And let's just say that Susie is diagnosed with breast cancer and Chris is diagnosed with breast cancer. They can go to the exact same oncologist, but they may not necessarily be treated the same. Yeah. because the tumor markers may be different. They're at different stages of their cancers. One is operable, one may not be operable. I mean, it's crazy. It's just craziness. It really is. One has a genetic component to it. Another one doesn't. One is estrogen positive, one isn't. So, you know, that's just a primary example.
And so when someone's diagnosed with cancer, what is the typical diet that they should be eating?
Well, you know, a lot of physicians will recommend that you eat, high protein. Really? There's others that recommend that you strictly go with a vegetarian type diet. For me personally, I ended up really craving protein, and of course I had weight to gain because I'd lost quite a bit of weight before I started treatment. So for me, I was eating a lot of protein, a lot of vegetables. I pretty much was eating whatever the heck I wanted.
Yeah.
And what my body was craving, of course excluding sugar.
Yeah. So you were eating meat,
yes,
animal protein. Okay.
I was.
Yeah, I've heard that generally people should go vegan, but I don't know. I don't know if that's. I'm sure. Of course, it depends on the person.
I think it really does. When you have, like mine was a blood cancer. So I was having a breakdown of red blood cells, and I had an abnormally high white blood count. So I was craving the meats and all to replace my red blood cells that had been crowded out.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody else, you know, they have cancer, but their blood may be fine. It's just that, you know, they've got a tumor that they don't want to continue to feed. And so they're probably going to be, you know, it's going to probably, a physician might want to recommend that they you know, cut out a lot of the carbs in their diet outside of vegetables, so they're not feeding the tumor. So it's a tough deal. It's not easy about it.
Is there anything else that you want to tell the listeners about, you know, what they should do if they're diagnosed with cancer?
Well, they probably should get my book, because, you know, it took me 2.5 years to write it, and in that process, they're going to learn everything there is. In other words, it's a guide. It's a guide that will tell them all the things that they need to do. You know, what to look out for if they are hospitalized. What are the foods that they it's recommended that they eat? What kind of tests are available? What are the side effects of potential radiation, and what they should look out for relative to tests that involve radiation? And then, of course, you know, how to interview an oncologist or a physician. What are the questions they need to ask? Because you have a very limited amount of time when you go in to visit them.
Yeah.
So I actually have questions in there for them. So, you know, I did all the work for them. It's all there. Got cancer, now what?
Yeah. And are there any other tips or that you think the listener should know? Like, what kind of do you have like a step-by-step process they should go to? Like, is there a list they kind of have to check mark off?
Yeah, kind of chapter by chapter, really. You know, this is the book here, and just going through the content list. I cover the emotional factors, hospitalization, medical insurance, visiting your doctor, selecting doctors, finding oncologists, finding a surgeon. Surgeons are very important. And then I talk about what is cancer, the survival rates, complementary and alternative medicine. I go into the blood and the immune system, which is very important for people to know about. You'll even learn how to read your blood tests. And then I talk about hormones and the toxins and inflammation and chemo brain that can happen from chemotherapy and body detoxification. I mean, it's a pretty thorough book on just about every aspect that a cancer patient is going to run across.
Yeah. Well, I really commend you for writing this book, and especially under the duress that you were under when you had the stage 4 cancer. And I think it's really a must-read for anyone who's newly diagnosed or anyone who is currently diagnosed.
Even if you have reoccurring cancer, it's good for that too, because you're going to start the process all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. And why do you think the cancers reoccur? I've heard that when you do chemo, that it may not kill the stem cells of the cancer, and then, you know, 5 or 6 years on their tumor can regrow. What is your theory behind the recurrence rates?
I think there's a multitude of reasons. Again, sometimes people will go back to the exact same lifestyle that they had prior to treatment. So what is your outcome going to be? Well, you don't know, but there is a possibility. If your body is full of toxicity again, and your immune system is lowered again, we all carry cancer cells in us every single day. We all have them. It's the immune system that takes them out.
Yeah.
So you already have a weakness for a particular type of cancer. It's very difficult to kill every single little cell, no matter what treatment you get. So again, if you go back to the lifestyle you had before, and you still have a few of those little cells circulating around, and your immune system is like down in the dumps again. You're stressed out. You're exhausted. You're not eating well. You're not sleeping well. What are the possibilities? I don't know what the statistical data is on that. All I know for myself is I don't wish to ever get there again.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to have a self-discipline and a belief. And the component that is also really important is your emotional stability and your outlook on life. They do have statistical data in studies that show that people, once they're diagnosed with cancer, if they have a negative attitude about it, and if a physician says to them, you're going to be dead in 3 months, guess what? They buy into it, they believe in it, they're dead in 3 months.
Yeah.
If your attitude is such that, no, I don't buy into that. There's got to be something out there. I know there's something out there. But it takes work. It's a tremendous amount of work. And you have to set aside the emotional trauma that you're in and try to open up your mind to the fact that there is something else out there. And you have to go find it. And then you have to keep trying different things. And obviously it works for people that have more time.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we had a family member and she was diagnosed with lung cancer. And by the time she was diagnosed, it was everywhere. You know, it had metastasized to everywhere. And in that case, that's a pretty tough one.
Yeah, and I think that I really implore people to really listen to their bodies and tune in, because so many like friends or family members and other stories I've heard of the people that are diagnosed with cancer, they have symptoms. They have fatigue.
Yes.
They get unrelenting fatigue a year, 2 years before they're diagnosed. So if you are getting fatigue, you need to start looking into the cause. There's something wrong if you have fatigue. That's the first symptom.
They'll have symptoms too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pain.
And like I said, that denial thing is a very interesting component of it, because you don't want to know.
Yeah.
You have a lump somewhere, you don't want to know what it is because it frightens you, and fear will stop you. It'll stop you in your tracks from doing anything. It's easier just to go, oh, it's nothing. I don't need to be worried about it, and continue on. Yeah. And courage. There's very few people that have courage.
Yeah, I know. I can only imagine if you've been living a not so healthy lifestyle and then you're diagnosed with cancer and you have to do 100% reversal. If you're doing some alternative therapy, you're doing juicing every day, 3 or 6 cups of juice, which make me want to barf. And then eating tons of vegetables, cooking fresh food, not getting fast food or frozen food and things like that, and reducing stress, and maybe working less hours, and I mean that's tough. I mean that takes courage. Yes, it does.
Yes. Yeah, it takes courage, takes planning, and commitment.
Yeah,
the 2 big C's: courage and commitment.
Yeah,
it's huge.
And then you have to do infrared sauna every day. Why don't we talk a little bit about infrared saunas and the vast benefits they have?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what an infrared sauna is, but what it does is it's not a wet sauna. It's dry, and they're heat lamps of infrared light. And what it does is it heats up your body. You can set the temperature of the actual unit itself up to like 145 degrees. I can't take 145 degrees. It just doesn't work for me anymore. But it does penetrate into your body 2 inches. And that's why when they've analyzed the perspiration and the sweat, they can actually see the chemical load in the sweat, because it's baking it out of your fatty tissue. And that's where the toxins live. So when you start an infrared protocol, you basically have to take it slow at first, because it is kind of tough. You have to start out like 15 minutes, and then work your way up. But you also I know what my practitioner was doing was giving me a lot of supplements and minerals before I even got in the sauna.
Yeah.
Because you can deplete those out of you, and then you're not going to feel good at all.
Yeah, you do. You've got to be on a serious remineralization program before you're doing infrared sauna.
Infrared saunas were used in a program with the firemen that were exposed to the 9/11 toxicities of the buildings and the smoke. And the ones that were chosen for that program and that went through it, their health was improved dramatically as a result. Yeah. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it kills cancer cells. I mean, it shrinks tumors. It kills little cancer cells before you even know that you have the cancer.
Heat, if you have it up high enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think those are hugely important to prevent, and to improve cancer.
It also helps people with, I believe, with heart issues.
Mm-hmm.
It does something with your arteries. I'm not sure what.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it detoxes those too.
Yeah, it does.
And improves your blood pressure. It lowers your blood pressure a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it was part of my protocol with the breast cancer. Mm. I did 8 months of it.
Wow.
2 or 3 times a week.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was estrogen positive, and we needed to get the estrogen out of my body too.
Yeah. Yeah. So Denise, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, I really enjoyed talking with you. It's been great.
Yes, but you're not off the hook yet. I have one question that I like to ask all of my guests.
Okay.
What do you think is the most pressing health issue in the world today?
Oh, that's a really good question. Most pressing health issue. I think that it all involves stress, because then you have a multitude of health issues as a result of it. People are dying of heart attacks. I think that the percentage is going up now, actually. And then, of course, we've got cancer. I think those two things, heart attacks and cancer, are the most pressing of all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think stress kills. Stress causes that adrenal fatigue and causes that domino effect. You gotta reduce stress. Absolutely, number one thing.
And like I said, there's the genetic component that everybody has with them. You can look down your family tree and you can see the different illnesses and what your relatives have died from. And that's just kind of a mirror into what you potentially could be up against. Yeah. And so you need to look at that and go, okay, what are the things that I can do so I don't end up like that?
Well, my mother did a lot of our genealogy, and a lot of our relatives died of consumption.
Is that right?
It's an illness, I guess. They didn't know what it was back in the 1900s, so they just called it consumption. So I have to worry about that. Hopefully the infrared sauna helps with consumption.
I hope so. You get it there, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. So why don't you tell the listeners, where they can find you, your website, and, where they can get your book, etc.
Well, Gut Cancer Now What? It's available on Amazon. It's also a Kindle. It's also on Barnes & Noble. It's also on its own website called gutcancernowwhat.com. And I can be reached at Denise at healthywellbeing.net if they have any questions.
Oh, great. And you do personal consulting with the clients as well?
No, I don't.
Oh, not anymore? I thought I read that on your website. I'm sorry.
No, I have my own radio show called Health Media Now. And, I talk with experts in the health field. Mm-hmm. And we have some great conversations every Wednesday.
Oh, we have something in common.
Yes, we do.
We talk talk to the experts.
That's right.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And listeners, if you want to learn more about detoxification and how to heal your health conditions naturally, you can go to my website, liveto110.com. You can also learn about the modern paleo diet, which is my version of paleo. And listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your support every week tuning in. I love doing this. I love, disseminating this information to you, and hope that you learn one thing that helps you improve your health. So thank you so much for listening to the Live to 110 podcast.
Bye-bye.
Dr. Vajidani, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Wendy, to have me on your program. It is my pleasure and honor to share with your audience 47 years of experience working in a research and clinical laboratory immunology.
Yeah, well, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Tell us about your background and your research.
Sure. So my journey started actually with a bachelor degree in biochemistry and microbiology, then master in microbiology and immunology, and PhD in the field of immunology. All that happened in Israel. So altogether took me 12 years. That's how it used to be before. And then I spent 1 year of postdoctoral studies to look at usefulness of immunological testing in clinical medicine. And then I came to the US, went to UCLA, and did additional postdoctoral studies. From UCLA, I moved to Harbor UCLA, which is a hospital associated with UCLA, then to Charles Drew UCLA School of Medicine, where I became assistant professor, then associate professor, got several NIH grants, which is really at this level was the highlight of my research, was to look at the effect of toxic and carcinogenic chemicals on cell-mediated immune function using 3 different strains of mice. And we were injecting the same level of chemicals to 3 strains of mice. One strain after 3 months was developing cancer, second strain after 6 months, and if the length of the study was, let's say, 12 months, the third strain never developed cancer. So you see the inter-individual variation in reaction to toxic chemicals, which exist also in human beings.
Yes. Yes, and that's what I want to talk to you about today.
Right.
Are why do some people who have the same amount of heavy metals and chemicals get very, very sick, and the next person seems to be functioning okay? I'm sure they have fatigue or malaise or something, but they are not bedridden. So why don't we talk a little bit about the prevalence of chemicals and